Hi guys, these are the top 8 deck lists from the PS5 tournament that we had on Sunday. I'm going to go over the list, but if for just before we start, I did start a Instagram page basically on Instagram under this URL. So if you guys want to look me up, I do post the deck list ahead of time. So if you guys want the exclusive access to the deck list ahead of time before I post it on the on YouTube, just check out my Instagram page and then just follow me there if you guys want. But yeah, let's go start into the top deck profile. So on first place here we have a Lightsworn deck. This is the in Swiss, by the way. So after Swiss, you'll see these decks lined up in order. So first place we got a Lightsworn deck in Swiss, piloted by someone named Jose Luis Galvin. So congrats on him for being undefeated in Swiss. He decided to play Lightsworns. Lightsworns is definitely one of those decks that has fallen off the map a little bit. I don't know why exactly. I think Milling Wolf is a really strong start, especially if you have the chance to do that with Solar Recharge and Charge the Light Brigade. But yeah, this deck is a little bit different. It does tech a Chaos Sorcerer in the deck, so that means you can go Chaos Sorcerer top deck for Plague. Most likely you'll mill a Plague, so you can top deck for a Plague and then synchro into a level 8. So you have two forms of removal. You'll remove a face-up monster with Chaos Sorcerer, and then you top deck for Plague. I'm not sure if this deck is considered Twilight. I think Twilight generally plays cards like Dark-Armed Dragon, but in Twilight, funnily enough, they actually play the Pot of Avarice. The Pot of Avarice can modulate the number of darks in the graveyard, so by modulating the number of darks in the graveyard, you can special summon Dark-Armed Dragon with Pot of Avarice. But this is not a Twilight build because I don't see Dark-Armed Dragon, so I'm just going to consider it Lightsworn. It's not pure. It does play the Gale here, which is not normally played in Lightsworns, but it's a good tech because Lila here is a spellcaster monster. So that it being a spellcaster monster, you can tune the Gale and the Lila for Arcanite Magician, and then pop 2 cards. Additionally, you can also, additionally, this deck also plays T-Roar, so it makes sense that they would play T-Roar because you can normal summon the Gale and you can protect your Lila after it mills 3, and then next turn you can either summon for Celestia, normal summon the Gale, or normal summon the Plague and make synchro plays. Okay, so that's an interesting inclusion as well. Normally Lightsworns don't play Mirror Force in their deck, generally because they want to be able to mill Lightsworns, but the Jose here decided to tech 1 in the main deck for the same reason, by protecting the monsters and then tribute summoning for Celestia. So a very interesting tech. Also plays a Cold Wave too. Generally Cold Wave is usually used for power plays, so if you have a JD that's live, that's the only reason I can see it. But if you have a set Beckoning Light, you can activate that on the end phase of your opponent's turn, discard all copies, and then add JD back to your hand. And then on your next turn, on your main phase, you can activate the Cold Wave and then spell summon JD and blow up the field. Yeah, so definitely underlook the archetype. It's fallen off the radar, maybe because it's maybe not as fun for other people, but still Milling Wolf and then generating +1s off Wolf and then tributing for Celestia is a pretty powerful play still. And so let's go into the side deck here. He side decks the Chain Disappearance here. Really good against frogs, especially if you want to hit Subzitoad. Subzitoad is good enough to banish all copies of the frogs out of their hand, and as well as the deck and graveyard. So this acts as that outlet to do so. So a really good tech as well, especially since Lightsworn generally do not play traps, and people generally side out Heavy Storm against Lightsworns anyways. So always good to side into traps if you're playing Lightsworns. Always have that mind game always on the back foot. We also have DD Crow here. DD Crow is really good against a lot of different decks nowadays. I'm guessing like this is used mainly for value, but also the mirror match. But DD Crow has a lot of applications, even Pot of Avarice as well. We also have Master Restrict, so I guess he has a weakness against Frog Monarchs, because Frog Monarch is generally the deck that hurts to Master Restrict. But you can also side this against Blackwings too. I just wouldn't see myself doing so. But you can definitely side this for Blackwings. The only problem with siding Master Restrict is that you won't be able to tribute summon for Celestia. So Celestia is a problem, not being able to tribute summon. So that's the thing. So also Master Restrict, I don't see Master Restrict being utilized against Frog Monarchs anymore. Just because Frog Monarchs nowadays have tend to lean away from just playing the frog engine. So, for example, there's decks like Mausoleum Frogs, which uses Mausoleum of the Emperor to basically play around the lack of being able to tribute summon. The frogs also play like the hero engine, which lets you play Miracle Fusion and then play Absolute Zero, and then Absolute Zero is not a form of tribute summon. So yeah, so I can probably see this being cut in the future. But if you guys decide that you want to keep it in, be my guest. Cyber Dragon always a side deck copy. It's always a side deck, especially with Machinas running around. You want to be able to contact fusion and generate a +1 off that. It's also a free summon, so you're basically not wasting your normal summon for the turn if you decide to use Cyber Dragon. Decree always a staple in the side deck because people like to side Light Imprisoning Mirror. Light Imprisoning Mirror tends to shut off Lightsworn's mill effects, so being able to hit the Light Mirror is pretty good. Also sides the MST as well, just for the same reason, I'm assuming. The weird thing about this is he also sides the Royal Oppression. So because a lot of decks that side Light Mirror are usually back row decks, you can also shut off the special summoning from back row decks as well. Generally, they rely on that one special summon to go off, but most decks now special summon under Oppression nowadays. Even recruiters are able to special summon in the damage step, but you can stop cards like Archlord Christia in those recruiter decks. You can stop a lot of special summons. The other cards that you can side deck is Concentrated Light, so it's good against Blackwings, I'm assuming. It's also a light monster, so since you are playing the Lightsworn deck, most of your monsters are going to be non-dark. I can see him siding out maybe like a Tragodia, maybe, or maybe a Gale for the 2 Consecrated Lights. No way to special summon it since he doesn't play the Shiny Angel line, which is fine. But that's all for the side deck. Extra deck, pretty much standard. The only thing that's not standard here is the Dark End Dragon because he plays the Chaos Sorcerer, and also the Armor Master because he plays the Gale, and the Arcanite Magician because he can synchro the 2 monsters together for Arcanite Magician. But other than that, it's pretty solid. Red Dragon Archfiend is probably not played as much as a level 8, but it is at 3,000 meters, so yeah, pretty much that's it. Okay, the next deck list, it's going to be second place to Carlos Castaneda. He got second place with Diva Zombies, so always nice to see the Diva Zombie top in this one. Congrats on second place in Swiss, Carlos. So yeah, we have a special tech here. This is pretty standard. Other than that, he plays the Night End Sorcerer. What Night End Sorcerer does is that when it's special summon, it banishes 2 cards from your opponent's graveyard. So yeah, the Night End Sorcerer here is able to target 2 cards in your opponent's graveyard and banish them. So that's actually a lot better if there's cards that spell cards and trap cards that you can banish. But yeah, just be careful when using this card not to give the correct amount of darks for Dark-Armed Dragon. That's the only tech that he plays. It's also a tuners as well, so you can Synchro Summon as well using the Night End Sorcerer. So yeah, there's a lot of cool techs in here. The Dust Tornado in the main deck just for the Royal Oppression in case they main deck it. Also the 2 Wing Blasts. Sorry that it's yeah, it's not even. But yeah, the 2 Wing Blasts here as well. So he has 4 ways and 6 ways to counter the oppression in the event that it gets drawn. The side deck, he plays as Fossil Dyna, pretty standard if you want to lock out special summons. So generally, the Diva Zombie deck likes to build a board. If you can somehow keep that board and then you normal summon the Fossil Dyna, it's really hard for them to come back. Cyber Dragon, staple, just so you can staple side deck so that you can contact fusion. Soul Release is pretty interesting here. I think it's mainly for Lightsworns, just so you can hit all the names in Lightsworns, and so you don't get blown out. And then we also have Deep Prison here, Skill Drain, Light Mirror, Dust Tornado, Lightning Vortex, and Pulling the Rug. So these are all cards that you can play. I think Skill Drain is mainly for Frog Monarchs, just because the Caiuses that go back to back. But it's also against Consecrated Light, I guess, if you really need the Consecrated Lights to be turned off. But he does play other attribute monsters that can run over Consecrated Light, so I don't see this being sided against Consecrated Light. Yeah, so I don't know the real reason why he plays Skill Drain. Maybe because your Synchro deck is able to generate monsters over 25k, so it's really hard to run over the monsters with Skill Drain. If there's a side deck card, I can think, it's probably for Kaiku, yeah. So Kaiku the Ghost Destroyer, you can side this against that because it stops you from banishing your Mizukis, and that's the only thing I can think of. But that's pretty much it that I can think of. Yeah. Oh, this is also for Vanity's Fiend too. So Vanity's Fiend, Archlord Christia, cards that just pretty much say that you can't play the game. You can just negate its effect while it's face up on the field. Light and Prism Mirror for Lightsworn, so it looks like he does have extra hate for Lightsworns and Angels. And fairies. So fairies also rely on the recruiters to special summon. So you have these 4 cards to the side deck. Extra Dust Tornado really hates the back row, so he does have 3 Dust Tornadoes between his main deck and side deck. Lightning Vortex, just so they can clear the same reasons for that you play Skill Drain, and then pulling the rug for Caius or any Frog Monarch deck, as well as Diva Heroes that likes to summon Stratos or summon Diva. You can just pulling the rug that. Pretty much the extra deck is pretty solid. Gaia the Force of the Earth is normally comes in and out, and also Doom Kaiser Dragon comes in and out depending on if the meta is filled with zombies. With Doom Kaiser, you can steal Plague Spreader Zombie from your opponent's graveyard if they mill it or have it in the graveyard, and then you have Gaia the Force of the Earth that can't be Phoenix Chain, but Phoenix Chain is never main, but it is a 2600 beater, so that's really nice about Gaia. Okay, on to the next one. Third place we have a Diva Hero Beat deck by Mr. Common Saunders. He's a pretty famous guy on the internet, especially on Dueling Book. So he's always constantly on the Format Library and other sort of websites, so you might know his name. But he decided to play the Diva Hero Beat deck, which is pretty standard across the Diva Hero Beat line. Even the Wing Blast, I would say, is pretty standard. So I think the only thing that's different here is maybe the Call to Haunted, but I think Call to Haunted is pretty good, especially when you go Future Fusion, and then you target Gaia, and then you send Fossil Dyna from your side deck, and then flip the Call to Haunted if they decide to special summon. That's a pretty cute play. Other than that, the Call to Haunted probably can special summon the Ocean to retrieve the Stratos, or special summon the Stratos during the end phase to pop back row. So there's a lot of applications for Call to Haunted for sure, and I think that's pretty cool. He plays the Gores in the main deck. That's probably the only thing that's not standard here. The Gores token can be used for Honest. So Honest has its place in the deck list. Deep Sea Diva can go into Android. Android is a light monster that you can just use Honest for. So the deck has a lot of ways to generate the light monster to be able to use Honest. So that's pretty good here. He plays 2 E-calls only and 1 reinforcement of the army. He has as opposed to 3 E-calls. 3 E-calls is probably the more standard build, but 2 E-calls is pretty good just because I guess people are citing Thunder King Ryo now, and he himself also cites Thunder King Ryo. Thunder King Ryo's kind of left the format for a while just because of Blackwings, but you can definitely side this against Blackwings just so you can shut off the Black Whirlwind. You can pretty much stop the Synchro plays as well, but Frog Monarch this does absolutely nothing for. So yeah, as always, the Cyber Dragon is in the side deck. Seems to be a trend. Sides is 1 DD Warrior Lady because you can search it from the reinforcement of the army. It's a good form of removal if your opponent decides to side into maybe Kinetic Soldier. So if Kinetic Soldier in this battles, you'll lose a lot of life points, but at least you'll be able to banish the Kinetic Soldier off the board. We also have Fossil Dyna, pretty standard if you play a lot of back rows to protect your Fossil Dyna. Flip effect monsters can get stopped by Grand Mole, but also stops the mirror match too. So if they play the Absolute Zero, you can summon the Grand Mole, attack the Absolute Zero, and Grand Mole will be safe because it will be back in the hand after it battles with the Absolute Zero. Then we have Compulsory here, really good against any Synchro decks, but even the mirror match too if they decide to make the Absolute Zero line. We also have 2 Dust Tornadoes for any back rows that might hurt this deck. I can't think of a reason why else for a specific side deck. Maybe it's not a counter side deck because the deck doesn't really rely on effects activating. Maybe Dust Tornado can hit the pulling the rug for the Divas, so that's probably a reason why he sides the pulling the rug, or that's the reason why he sides the Dust Tornado. Plays 2 Light Mirror because he doesn't want to get blown out by Lightsworns, and 2 pulling the rugs for Monarchs and Deep Sea Diva decks. Okay, the side deck, the extra deck, it's actually pretty used, just because you have the Deep Sea Diva, so you have the 2 level 5s, the 4 level 5 synchros. We also have the level 6 that pierces, and we have Goyo and Brio because any level 4 in Diva can go into it. And then we have the Gishiden. That's probably the only thing that's not standard. The Gishiden can go up to 3000 attack. You can make it using Diva and the Gilman, and then if you can find a way to send another monster to the graveyard, Gishiden becomes a 3000 attack monster. And then the one to Stardust because of Starlight Road. Yeah, but that's pretty much it for the Diva Hero Beat, so congratulations on 3rd place, Carmen Saunders. The next deck list we have is by Pete Navarro. We all know who he is because he's a very famous duelist, I guess, in the modern past and the modern current. So he decided to play an interesting deck that was very much featured by Mr. James Ark. on Fraser Smith's I'm Nerd podcast. We have the Ultimate Offering zombie deck that plays Illblood. If you watch the deck profile, he'll go into the depth what the deck does. So if you guys want to watch that video, he'll explain everything that you want to know about this deck. So we're just going to skip here, and congrats to Pete Navarro for top 4 at the Swiss tournament. Here we have another deck list by Jasur Almir. He decided to play an interesting version of Frog Monarchs. He includes the Junk Synchron, the 2 Junk Synchron, so that he can go into Black Rose in case the opponent sides into Black Mask Restrict. But he also main decks the Turbo Cannon, so he can go burn in time. It's a level 2 Synchro monster, so I mean it's a level 2 tuner monster that you can Synchro with Caius or Ryza or even Mobius to be able to blow up Back Rows and then Synchro summon into level 8. So yeah, you have that option so that you can have the level 8 line, or you can go Synchro summon with the Treeborn Frog to make your 1 Turbo Cannon to burn the life. Also plays a T-Roar in case he gets blown out by OTK, so you have nothing that can stop you. Especially Fish OTK, I can see this being used if you get Fish OTK'd and they try to go if they try to go for lethal. Even Diva Heroes also plays that too. You can just flip the T-Roar and then have another turn, so they don't go into that line and kill you. It has the Treeborn, he has the Dupe Frog line to be able to lock out the normal summons and stuff. And he also has a Miracle Fusion line too. So this is the prime example of why you don't side deck Mask Restrict against this deck, because this deck in particular is able to basically have a different line of play to play around not having the having restrict out, so you can do other plays. So yeah, pretty solid list. Plays the Bubble Man. I'm not sure why he plays it in particular. Maybe the deck likes to top deck a lot, but it is also a water monster, I guess, because you could Miracle Fusion. So I guess that's a reason why you wouldn't want to play that. And then his side deck's pretty interesting. The one thing that I did see him play a lot in the tournament was the End of Anubis. For those of you guys don't know, End of Anubis negates any effects that activate in the graveyard. So as long as he's face up, so he's like a 1 tribute 25k. I think he has the same stat as Summon Skull with 1200 defense as well, but don't quote me on that. But he is able to shut off recruiter effects from going off in the graveyard by tribute summoning this. Since it's a Frog Monitor deck, I can see why he would want to tribute this. So any deck that plays recruiters, even the mirror match too, sometimes you want your Dupe Frogs to go off, and also it stops Treeborn Frogs as well. So the mirror match is very much reliant on who can summon the most amount of Monarchs, I guess. So if you have your Treeborn Frog, if they have Treeborn Frogs in the graveyard, you can normal summon this guy and shut off the Treeborn Frog from activating. Then we have cards like Dark Spirit. Not sure why he sides that. Maybe he needs a way to out Vanity's Fiend, so and that's why he plays a T-Roar. He can just set any monster that's level 4 or lower, activate the T-Roar to protect it, and then tribute the one monster he kept on board for Dark Spirit, destroy all the Vanity's Fiend, and then come out of the lock. Jinzo maybe for like Master Restrict as well. So he's very much he's pretty much anti Master Restrict here. Sides as a Solace, maybe it's good against the Frog Monarch as well. The mirror match, so that you can hit the Caius out of the hand, so that they don't have have a power push tribute monster. So that's pretty cool. Also sides Vanity's Fiend as well, so it's pretty good. Soul Exchange, he doesn't not main Soul Exchange, so that's why he sides it. Maybe it's for the same reason that you can pretty much hit the Vanity's Fiend in the mirror match, so you can just Soul Exchange it away and then tribute summon for something else. Yeah, so it looks like another more anti Master Restrict, so he definitely hates that card, so he definitely has more cards to out it. Spiritual Water Oi is one of those cards where you tribute a water monster, look at your opponent's hand, discard any card you want. So it's really good with frogs because you have reoccurring resources. Sides Dust Sheet because in case he doesn't go first, the card's really useless, and he has 2 Wabakus for the same reason for T-Roar. Extra, since he does play the Miracle Fusion line, he does have the Gaia and the Absolute Zero. Not much to say there. He does have the level 8 Synchros that he can Synchro with the Turbo Cannon. Also has the Turbo Cannon itself to burn. Also plays the Junk Synchron, the Junk Synchron. So I guess if he has a lot of Dupe Frogs or a lot of Swap Frogs, he can gain attack points equal to the Dupe Frogs online. So he can become a really big Junk Synchron. Okay, so yeah, congrats on the top 8 finish for Mr. Jasur. On to the next one. Next one we have Blackwings by Mr. Sean Armstrong. Yeah, this is a Blackwing hybrid deck, so you can see because he plays the Greffer line. But other than that, it's pretty standard Blackwing deck. Not much to say with that. It's pretty good. It does what it needs to do. Plays Deck Devastation Virus for all the matchups that it hits, including Fairies and Quick Draw. Danny Warrior, so he definitely mains that. Also plays the Skill Drain, which is strange in this deck, but I guess because he is playing Blackwings, you can back up your Blackwings with Colute, so that's one way you can protect the monsters from being ran over. But other than that, it's pretty standard. I pretty much you guys seen all the Blackwing deck profiles there is. Nothing much more to say, but congrats on the top 8 finish for Sean Armstrong. Next place we got a Diva Heroes deck that got first place. If you guys are on my channel, you can see his deck profile. He'll go in depth as to why he plays all the cards in his deck. So you guys can watch that video there. But yeah, congrats on the first place win. So next one, and then we have another one where it was covered by Mr. Cormac Flynn, aka Raunok. I think that's how you say his name. So yeah, so congrats on the second place finish off the top 8 Swiss. Very interesting deck. So if you guys want to know more reason why he plays all his card choices, go over to Keegan's channel. I think he's going to cover a more in-depth deck profile. But if you want the shorter version of this, just go on my channel, and I'll have the deck list on the description or on the feed. Oh yeah, but thanks for watching. That's the top 8 deck finish, and congrats on the top 8 finishers for this tournament. Peace.